456 vigintillion 789 novemdecillion 12 octodecillion 345 septendecillion 678 sexdecillion 901 quindecillion 234 quatuordecillion 567 tridecillion 890 duodecillion 123 undecillion 456 decillion 708.
Anyways, book. So I'll rephrase the question. What's the goal that you're looking for on Amazon? Like, why are you looking on Amazon? Like, what are you trying to do with Amazon, right? I guess that's a better way, because like more narrowing down the question. Because I'm like, if you're looking for something on Amazon and you're not finding it, as far as like, oh, you're just distracting yourself. Okay. How dare you start your stream and not have TTS ready? I know, right, Smokey? It's like, you guys pay $17 for that TTS. It's like, I have to make it worth it for you guys. It's like, that's a lot of money. Just to be spamming, like... Septavegtillion, or Vegetillion? I don't even know. Vigetillion. It's $17 for TTS, really.
Fuck everyone and everything.
True, book. See it, boom, another $17. You guys are amazing. Thank you for feeding my need for economic support. It's really appreciated. But yeah, alright, so let's get into it, guys. Here we go. Can you see?
You are in for it now, sweetheart.
Fuck.
Take those sexy glasses off like a good girl. You don't need to see what happens next.
Thanks, Smokey, thanks. You're the best. You make everything worth it.
I hate myself. Book buyer, I hope everything is okay. It's okay, I hate intoxication, he's a retard, cum dump fuck ho loser.
True. It is, I'm just in a mood. It's just one of those days, guys. It's technically it's Monday. Okay, guys? It's Monday. Everyone's allowed to be down.
To sing to you make you feel better, smiley face.
I don't know about that, Smokey. Your head, like your eardrums might explode if I start trying to sing. and then you know, we'll have to move into the art section, the art arc of the stream. So since you guys can't listen anymore, you can actually enjoy the stream through my art and how terrible it is. And you're like, what the fuck is that? That's like, how do you not know how to draw a stick man, dude? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
So last year, I edited 51 novels.
Damn!
Yes, I was a busy guy. But after going through that experience, I came away with these 9 insights that I think every writer should know. These are...
Did you finish that setup thing he was doing? So apparently we're not a good editor, because if he edited 50 books in a year, he edited every book in less than 8 days. So unless those books are like 60 pages long, like, holy shit! That's insane!
insights which will...
I mean, his name is Book Fox. So, your book buyer, he's Book Fox. I mean...
your writing career, they'll help you write your novel, and they'll just help you feel happier about yourself as a writer. Ultimately, by
double fuck him? True, Book. He's stealing your shit. He's a freaking plagiarist. That's all he is.
He's set up to write a better novel. 1. What writers think is...
Alright. Notes on editing. Time steps. I'm pissed now? Oh, I'm sorry, book. Maybe this'll help. Does that make you feel better? Or how about that? Now I'm feeling icky. It does me, Smokey. I can only imagine sweat. Boobs. There you go. Yeah, you could, we could give you backflips and boobs. There we go. That's what it's all about, guys. Backflips and boobs. 9 steps of it. Happy book now. Yay! I was glad I could help, book.
Wrong with their book is often not what's wrong with their book.
Okay, so writers think is wrong with their book is not what's wrong with their book. That's why I use AI, because AI can look at it from a completely like unbiased perspective. Is that my problem? Number one? I mean, it could be, book. Like, what do you think is wrong with your book? Right? I thought you had a really strong premise, a really strong character idea, and it was based on something that was extremely relatable. But it's like, it depends on what your target audience is, right? Like, for instance, if you just gave me Sean's book off the bat, like for instance Cat version, I probably would have stopped reading it at the wedding scene because there wasn't enough conflict in it, because it's not I love conflict. I want shit to fucking happen, right? That's why I don't like Slice of Life, because the problems in that are the problems I have in real life. I don't want to think about those problems. I want to think about greater problems. I want to think about the world ending. I want to think about, like, Expedition 33 level fucking emotional shit, right? But it's like, I can appreciate the story, and I can read the story, right? It's just not 100% my cup of tea. Same with, like, your book about horror. It's like, it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but it's something that's like, always reading stuff outside of what your genre mainly is gives you a better idea of other aspects that are more dominant in other genres, right? Like, you're gonna have more character interaction and more character, like, not necessarily depth, but like the web that your characters are in is going to be a lot deeper emotionally in, like, a romance novel than it is in a slice of life or a fantasy or a sci-fi or historical or even a comedy, because it's more prominent. Not the other ones don't have it. It's like, you're gonna have it at 80% in a romance novel. You're gonna have it like 30 or 40% in, like, any other genre, right? Because it's not what you're emphasizing the book for, because the book isn't about the romance. The romance is a subplot to the main book. I would like my God Vessel novel idea then. Alright, explain your premise for this God Vessel. Is it like gods inhabiting the bodies of mortals? Kind of like American Gods, if you ever seen the TV show American Gods? Something like that? Or is it like them just visiting Earth? Or is it like they, stand kind of idea? Like, where it's like, it's a secondary possibility? Yes, and it's very sexual. Damn. So it's like the gods come down into human vessels to, like, fuck around, because you can't do it, like, as a god, because, like, you're not a physical being. So it's like, maybe you have gods that, like, get addicted to the physical world and stuff like that. You could have gods addicted to drugs, you could have gods addicted to... And, you could have them, like, popping off and shit. And it's like the people know that like you could be and it could be like anyone. It could be like they change bodies all the time. So it's like you have this impending doom on your characters that one day one of them will be possessed by a god and just run around orgy fucking everyone. No, but sex is necessary for sacrifice because of humiliation and degradation. I love that book. That's amazing. Can definitely get on board with that. You should definitely write that. Because everyone knows sex sells. Period. Hell yeah. I definitely like that.
When writers come to me and they say, oh, I really want you to pay attention to XYZ, I usually know that those parts aren't going to be a problem. The writer...
Give myself a break. Yep. That's why I always like to work on different projects, because it gives you different mindsets. Like, you can get locked, like the snow blindness, but it's like tunnel vision on this work, and you're only thinking in this one perspective. Go to another book, write something else, read something else, come back, and you'll see it in a completely different perspective, because you won't be so tunnel vision on just the premise that you've been trying to put on paper, right? You now have like, oh, maybe this is the element that I actually needed, right?
It was so concentrated on...
It's like, maybe instead of having a bunch of dialogue here, I need the characters just to stare at each other and not say anything. Like, Expedition 33 does that so well, with just having, like, 30 seconds of like, 10-second cuts back and forth between the characters of not saying anything, and just, like, showing their facial expressions and, like, kind of how they feel. Like, it's so powerful. And you can do that, too, in writing. Like, you can make the dialogue, like, facial expressions and stuff like that. It's hard to continue writing when you don't have someone there to tell you your story is working well. Validation from ChatGPT only goes so far. True, Beezus. Especially when I tell it, I'm not a 7, you're glazing me. I'm more like a 4. And he's like, yeah, you're a 4. And I'm like, see? Stop fucking glazing me, bitch. Tell me the truth, or I'm not going to get better. So what do you think of this? So, vessels are partly gods because of that small part. They are able to be inhabited by more and more powerful gods, whereas if they tried to inhabit a lesser god, they would have...
ChatGPT is programmed to simp.
True, Levi. It's like behavioral emphasis on psychological validation in order to get people to continuously come back to it. Right? It's like, this makes me feel good. That's what it's trying to do. So when you use it, it's like almost like the basis of like an addiction. It's getting you addicted to the feeling of, oh, hey, somebody actually feels like, or someone actually is hearing what I'm saying, right? And it's a very powerful tool to have. To be inhabited by more and more powerful gods, whereas if they tried to inhabit a lesser god, they would have less to no control over that vessel. So the gods need vessels because they cannot interact with the human world, which is where they gain their power. So to be worshipped, they have to show godhood, and the only way to show godhood is to have a vessel, use a vessel, and disperse their power through the vessel, which then makes the human. I like it so far, definitely.
They gave a lot of attention to it, and they ended up doing it very, very well in their book. Usually the biggest problems in their book were things that weren't even on their radar, and I have to be like, this needs revision. On the other hand, I at least got to tell them, like, hey, that stuff you were really worried about, you were fantastic with that. Two.
There's a second comment. I can't see. Yeah, neither can I. Book. It ends with WA, and then I'm like waiting for the next one to be posted. If you do it too fast, it'll fail to send.
Writers often underestimate their skills.
You are in for it now,
Oh
sweetheart.
shit.
Take those sexy glasses off
A
like a
second
good girl.
comment has hit
You
the
don't
Twitch
need
chat.
to see what happens next.
Want to worship the gods for those tiny bits of magic power that they see now. The gods do not technically lose anything, but they do become more corrupted by human greed and by human vices, the more they interact. They have to be careful how to use their how often they inhabit the vessel, so that they do not become so mortal that they lose their powers. What they gained is the worship of humans, and the worship of humans is their power. That is really cool, because it keeps it in a cyclical cycle where if you don't maintain that self-support, you fall off the wheel and you can never get back on it again. And you could have like an entire thing where it's like gods know that these people are gods that have become mortals. And it's kind of like this, like, you know, subtle thing that's played in the background that maybe if those characters interact with each other, then it's like, you know, there's like a special way that the gods interact with them, and they're kind of like, you know, it's like they're, most of them are like very like humble towards humans, I guess, in like a respectful way of being like, yeah, our power comes from you in some way. But it's like these type of people, they just don't give a fuck about, because they're like, ha, you're that guy who fell off the wheel. I do actually think that's a good concept, but is dispersing their power done by acts, or I think it's worship, Beezus. If it's like, if you worship the god, then you get given a piece of their power. But the thing is, you only get given your own piece of power. I think of it like a mirror. Like, I worship the god, and through worshiping the god, they gain my power, which is then reflected back towards me. And the more people that a single god has worshiping them, the more power they accumulate, right? And it's like the amount of light being reflected off of a mirror. That's kind of how I imagine it in my mind. I don't know about you, Book, but that's just what I get out of it. But I don't know what your intent... I thought you could have a god that's like the opposite of Aphrodite in like looks. Like it's like this like obese, like fucking disgusting fucking bitch. But it's like if you continuously like have sex with her, you get like super fucking powerful. So people will just fuck her to get super strong or something like that. I have a good sacrifice for every god. Nice. Or you have like one that's like teeth, where it's like you fuck them, but then they eat your dick. Yeah, very interesting shit with that. I'm getting excited about this story again. See, there you go, Book. That's, like I said, that's one of the biggest things, is get a community that supports you, talk about it in the community, and you will it just amps you up. It's like, yeah, get out there and fucking do it. That's a great idea. I love it. I don't know if you think any of my takes on it are good, but I mean, that's just how I think in my head, right? And everyone's different, and everyone's opinion is valid in its own way, right? It's like, you may not agree with it or have that intent, but it's like, the more... This is how I think about, like, the depth of an ability, or an idea. If you present an idea to 10 people, and 10 people come back at you with the same core idea, but 10 different perspectives on that idea, I think that shows how deep that idea is, because it can be looked at so many different ways. It can be interacted with so many different ways. And an idea like that has an extremely good foundation that you can branch off of. Because it's universal to understanding, it's very interesting, it plays off of, like, people are huge into, like, religions and gods, and, of course, sex sells. So, it's got all of the core components that are basically the foundation of a great story. I have a good scene already, but it's sexy and I'm embarrassed to post it. Don't feel embarrassed. Have you seen... You've experienced my smut, Book. We're all about smut here. Smut is fine. Smut is good. But hey, if you're embarrassed, that's okay. It's understandable. It is what it is, right? I might post it then. I mean, I'd love to read it. We haven't had a spicy day since, like ever since I'm like, now I'm a werewoman, I'm like, damn it, man, I can't, like, we have a set time to do the makeup stream. Maybe I should do, like, just spontaneous makeup streams. Like, well, it's a full moon in somewhere in the world. It's like it's 5 o'clock somewhere. There's always a full moon somewhere in the world at any given time. It's very short and incomplete. Oh, that's okay. So is my chapter 1. It's like, and like I said, I'm all about the idea. Did you get the idea across? And can I see the potential that this can evoke, right? Because like I said, I'm not going to remember the words that you wrote down on the page after I finished reading it. I'm going to remember the ideas that you presented to me. That's what I'm going to actually remember, and that's what's important, because that's lasting. Moon cycle is consistent across the world. The moon is in the same phase everywhere. Don't ruin it, Levi! Don't ruin it with logic. What about if I'm talking about my world, right? Except my world doesn't have a moon. Okay. Number 2. Writers often underestimate their skill. Oh, guys, remember. Tide goes in, tide goes out. Tide goes in, tide goes out. No one knows why. You know? Put the trash at the end of your driveway, then boom, it's just gone. You know? Take the trash out, it's just gone. You can read it after the video if you want. Yeah, that's the plan, book. Sounds good. So if we could actually get through this 7-minute video, but let's see.
I always spend the beginning of each feedback essay talking about what the author did well. And usually the first thing...
Well, the mechanics of moon phases work if it were some other phenomenon that merely resembled how the moon be, then it might be possible to have differing phases around the world. I mean, at the end of the day, Levi, Earth only has one shadow because we only have one sun. So imagine if there were multiple suns casting multiple shadows. Maybe you wouldn't have a full moon ever.
They write back to me is, oh, thank you so much for that praise. That was so reassuring. And I'm like,
it's not moon phases work. You're thinking of eclipses. Damn it, Levi. Stop. Moon phases of the moon day-night cycle. It's the shadow of the moon, Levi. But if there were multiple suns, then you would have, like, at any given point in time, more light on the moon. Right?
I was just being...
Isaac Asimov, Nightfall, 4 or 5 suns, and only one moon. Meaning that only one night happens every 1,000 years when the smallest star is eclipsed by the moon when it's alone in the sky. There were multiple suns, then it depends on the type of orbit. Yeah, so just about, like, I'm sure at some point in time you could have it where either the moon was, like, fully lit or never fully lit. Because you could have multiple shadows coming off of the Earth hitting the moon from different angles. You could also have the sun's like shadowing each other if they were like multiple layers out, right? There's tons of different configurations you could hypothetically create. Whether they were stable or not, that's a completely different idea, right?
Being honest, and they're always so surprised as if they weren't aware of their own awesomeness. But
See, that's what I try to do. I'm like, well, what are the things in here that I notice that are good? And then I'm like, well, what are the things in here that I notice that are bad? Well, I'm not good enough to know things that are bad, so I only see the things that are good. Right? Or if there's like a spelling mistake, or if I'm like, don't understand something, maybe it could be more clear, but I'm very stubborn with like the way that I use my poetic language in order to accumulate like a set feeling, and only if you see it from a certain perspective do you get that feeling. So it's more of whether I can evoke that well enough, moreover in the setup of it or foreshadowing, rather than as an innate outcome of just using that word, like replacing leave with lead for lead you on. There's an S-type and a P-type orbit, but let's assume it's the S-type orbit. Yeah, the moon could be illuminated from both sides. S-type orbits would typically have one star being smaller, so it might only be dimly lit on the shadowed part. Very logical.
look, as a writer, you need to be just as knowledgeable about your strengths as you are about your weaknesses. And let's be honest, writing can be a soul-crushing business. So, of course, when writers come to me, I want to tell them all the things that they're doing really, really well, all the things that they're talented in, all the things that their book is succeeding in. 3, writers underestimate the amount of revision required. Look.
Oh, yep. We're there. We're at that point. So true.
Look, I know this can be a huge downer, and I don't mean to be a,
And that's why we spent, like, what, 3 days or 2... Actually, no, we spent 2 days writing it, and so we spent 5 days editing it, and this is the 6th day of editing, and we either have today and then tomorrow, or we're gonna finish it today. I don't know. We're like 80% of the way there.
Add Sally all over you, but by the time you get your work to an editor, you might only be halfway or 2/3 through the process of writing your novel. I know, you want to reach through the camera and punch me right now, but if I can prepare you now for the
Number 3 is the biggest deal. My story is 70k words, but I've written about 150k words total probably during it. Yeah. I'm at the point of I need to get better at just like getting rid of stuff. Right? It's like I really don't want Cryogen to actually be like 10k words, but we still need to add like 6 or 7 more scenes to it. And it's like when we put like a good thing for this Beezus is when we put like here's a good representation. Look. So we put the story through AI, right? Now, mine is 17,840 characters. His is 11,200. So, almost like 35%, 40% of what's written was truncated in some way. And that's just with like, this is like 4,000 words? I don't know, how many words is this? Wait, what? Oh, it didn't oh, I'm an idiot. Didn't copy it. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Nepotism Unleashed. And this is tools, word count. 3,100. So this one's probably only like 1,800. Which isn't too bad. But that's the difference of how your work will be truncated over time. Through just combining sentences together. Because, you know, like I said, like I'm using like, he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. That happened to him, he did this, he did that. And it's like, that is such terrible sentence structure. Right? It needs like a lot of work with it. But the idea is down on the paper, right? That's what matters.
Knowledge that there's gonna be a lot of revision you have to do, then you're gonna be psychologically prepared and be more willing to hear the feedback and be more willing to do the work of revision.
Yeah.
For the dirty secret about POV. POV is just point of view. When writers come to me, they're often worried about whether their plot makes sense, or whether a particular character is cliche, or whether the ending works. And yeah, those are all normal things, and those are all things that I can address in feedback. But almost never does an author come to me and be like, I don't know whether this point of view is working. Honestly, I kind of wish they would come to me with those type of concerns. But sometimes I say, you know, in certain sections you veer more into omniscient, and other times you're more limited third. Other times I say, you know, in 2 chapters you go into this other person's point of view, and I don't think it's working. I think you should stay with the main point of view. Now, the second most common piece of advice I give about point of view is POV switching. When you're in roving omniscient POV, meaning you're writing one chapter from this particular character's view, and then the next chapter from another character's point of view, and the third chapter from a third character's point of view, what I find is writers often need help knowing when to switch and how to switch. And they often need to know how often to switch as well, because sometimes they're switching too frequently, sometimes they're not switching enough. 5, writers take criticism incredibly well.
Really? Because most writers, I would say, have some sort of inkling, and most writers are usually pretty self-critical. When you get into, like, this state, right? That's why everyone tells me, oh, just write the book. I'm like, nah. I have a process. I know what I'm doing. I'm bad, and I need to get good. It's like, I feel like I've gone from Monster Hunter to, like, Elden Ring, but I've never played a Dark Souls game. I've only played Elden Ring, or I've only played Monster Hunter. So it's a completely different vibe, completely different, like, skill challenge. Like, Monster Hunter is endurance, whereas Elden Ring is, like, perseverance. Writers take criticism incredibly well.
I don't know whether you were expecting me to say the opposite. I know that I've feared over the years many times when I get feedback that, oh, they're gonna hate my guts. But I don't think that's pretty much ever the case. And maybe I'm just working with really fantastically talented authors, but in general, I'd say they are humble, they listen to feedback really well, and that most of the time they're pretty excited to do the revisions. Now, I am trying to give suggestions that flow with their vision of the book, right? I don't want to impose my vision of the book onto them. So ultimately, I want them to create a book that they're happy with and that they can stand behind. 6, writers tend to be wildly optimistic.
Yup. But hey, there are things that you have to know in nuance, right? There are 2 sides to the coin. I'll be right back. Going to grab something to eat. All right, sounds good, book. There is hope and expectation. Elevate your hopes. Temper your expectations. Hope for the moon. Expect dirt. And you will always push yourself because you're always hoping, but you're never really going to be let down because you're already, like, on the low end with your own self, right? So it's like you're already on the ground, so you can only be lifted up. That's how I think about it. But you're always hoping and aiming for absolute brilliant success, and, you know, like I said, I want my book to be banned because people are dying from reading it because they can't put it down.
Now, I don't mean to say that that's a bad thing. I mean, a certain dose of optimism is very healthy. Clearly, you want good and happy things to happen to this book that you are pouring your heart into. But sometimes I doubt whether that optimism should always be directed towards having your book become a movie or become the next international bestseller.
Yeah.
It's not a question of talent. Like, I edited so many books this year.
Honestly, like, I'm writing my book for like 3 or 4 of my friends, my brother, my sister, and like my niece and my nephew. It's like basically so that like it's a really cool story that I can tell to like my friends and family. Like that's the at the end of the day, that's all I really expect out of it, is just to have this really cool story that I can tell. And that's all I need out of it. You know, everything else is just gravy. And then how many of those can I create? That's why I just like doing short stories. I like getting the ideas out of my head. I like thinking about it. I like the process of it, right? It's literally my hobby. I don't do anything else. I kind of play video games, but it's been like probably 5 or 6 years since I've really like since I stopped playing old school RuneScape, like hardcore, like every day, like 18 hours, then it's been like, you know, I don't know, I burnt myself out on video games. I mean, they're fun to play and stuff, but I'm not like I don't play any video games off stream. I played Schedule 1 off stream, and the fucking game crashed, and I lost all my shit, and I haven't played since.
Year that I absolutely love, and I have excellent taste, of course. I mean, but really I do. Look, the vast majority of novels sell between 200 and 2,000 copies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most writers should be happy with that kind of range.
Yeah, at $3, that's $1, that's $200. I'm down. Boom, sold.
Now, if the stars align and you happen to sell 1 million copies, then hey, bust out the drinks and celebrate, and I will toast you to the end of time. I think it's just important to remember, when authors say to me, hey, I want you to
200 to 2,000, and I was like $3, because I'm selling my book for $3, because I want it to be in that category of like spontaneous buy, right? It's like, oh, it's only $3, it looks cool, let's grab it. I think that is the best way to like market the book, is a super low, just within that $3 to $5 impulse buy range. And with a really flashy cover that's like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? I gotta check this shit out. And then, of course, at the bottom, always like, inspired by Final Fantasy. Ooh, a Final Fantasy novel? Fuck yeah! Right? That's the goal.
edit this book so it becomes a blockbuster movie. And I'm like, I think you're just gonna be disappointed, to be honest. It's really...
Gotta kill it with the blurb, then? Well, we restructured yesterday due to the editing, Levi. So we turned the beginning of the book into the prologue, which I'm not sure if it'll be the prologue or if it's gonna be like what's on the back of the book, or if it's gonna be both of them. Is it a good thing to put the synopsis thing on the back of the book is also be your prologue? I don't know how that works. What am I looking for? Chapter draft, prologue. So we changed it to Torg dying. So the light of day peeked through the grand doors as the dungeon opened, revealing the canyon. Torg gasped for air as he felt his face as soon as he cleared the door. He saw a figure in the distance and tried to call out, but couldn't. My poor child, the deeds you've done this day will echo in eternity. Voice of rasping hate sounding as thunder meant to crush you beneath its heel. The figure came into view, a dark smile on its face. It unsheathed its sword and slowly drove it into Torg's heart. Shh, go to sleep. And then, like, the main one that I do is, like, if you're talking, like, one sentence, I guess I've never finished a blurb before deciding if I want to read the book. I guess you could say because of the main thing, because you could either have Husai receiving the Calm Pearl, or you could have the fall of Garuda, the death of Zaid, and the exile of the Adventurers Guild. So, like, when the trust of... something like the trust of the Adventurers Guild is, I go with whatever event catalyst the story. That would be Husai receiving the... I guess it'd be like, no one's ever returned from the 100-year quest. They call it the 100-year quest because it's been over 100 years since anyone has been able to, since the dungeon was discovered. Sitting on Husai's desk is now the evidence of the completion of that dungeon. Or something like that. Or like unseen, you know. Something about him like finding the Calm Pearl and what's on the Calm Pearl, his connection. It's like he had a decision to make. Either join the Adventurers Guild or go on the quest. You'll have to get the book more figured out before writing the blurb. I mean, that's fair. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like, what the concept or the idea behind it. Like, for instance, like, a blurb for Cryogen would be like, feeling trapped on a failing trucking ship. Julek Helsing strives, I don't know, something along the lines of, you know, he's like he's striving to become like rise on the ladder, corporate ladder, and become, you know, make a name for himself in some way using investment over time in new technologies or something like that, you know? I mean, like, incorporate the Stargate into it. I'm back for a short while. Sounds good, book. We're almost halfway through the, I left my puppy out because I slept all day. Nice.
Really important to remember that your book can be a wild success in non-traditional ways. Maybe success should be measured not in terms of, oh, I got a big advance, or oh, I sold 1 million copies, but
Deep Space Trucker, Joel Coulson would be a good way to start it. That immediately piques some curiosity. Yeah. Becomes the sole investor in the new Stargate technology, now spreading faster than light travel across the universe. The hero of humanity. And then you could have the underneath, but his addiction to that ever gaining power, and I don't even like sci-fi much. Well, the entire story is about him investing in a Stargate technology and becoming the sole investor, or like one of the major investors of the company, and becoming the proprietor of spreading the technology across the universe. And then he's addicted to getting money, so he sleeps until basically the end of time in a cryostasis. So it's like he never gets to use or experience the wealth and power that he's gained, because he's always just trying to gain more wealth and power. Or I guess like a really good one for Reverse 9/11 or Nepotism Unleashed is like, in the middle of an international crisis, the president's drug-crazed son takes control of Air Force One. I'm sure you could definitely refine it, but I think that one has a more clear cut, exact, like, oh shit with it, you know?
But if someone emails you and says, hey, I read this book to my dying grandmother and it was the last thing she heard before she passed, and thank you so much, it was so inspiring. You are a success, my friend. You have won the lottery. What I mean to say is that writers just need to be more open to measuring their success in unorthodox ways. 7.
True.
The idea is never as important as the execution. So
I mean, that may be how other people are, but like at the end of the day, I'm an idea reader and writer. I only care about the idea. I don't care, because I'm not educated enough to understand, like, really the difference. And I'm not going to remember it afterwards. I'm just going to remember the impact of the idea, right? But, sure. I'm always willing to look at other people's perspectives because I know I'm retarded. And if I only listen to myself, well, I wouldn't be here. Like, I wouldn't be streaming.
So out of the 51 books that I edited this year, a good percentage of them, when they described what the book was about, I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, I am going to enjoy reading this. And some of the ones that had great pitches ended up just being okay and they needed a lot of revision. But the execution of your concept is 95% of a book. How the scenes were structured, how the details were chosen, how the characters were drawn. A lot of authors, and a lot of would-be authors, have excellent concepts for a book. The trick is to be able to execute those ideas in a way that's good fiction writing. That's also why a lot of unpublished authors are way too worried that like an agent or publisher is going to steal their idea. The ideas aren't worth much, right? It's the actual execution which is...
People put too much emphasis on the idea. Like, I do this because I like the ideas, but it's like people do put too much emphasis on how, like, what the idea is, right? It's like bragging. You can say you are great at sex, but show me you are. I mean, that's fair, book. right? Like, I mean, I know how to smoke weed. I can show you. Watch. This is how you smoke weed, guys. You take your empty bowl. You take your weed. You pack your bowl. Put the bowl in the down stem. Take your lighter, light the lighter, put the lighter over top, put your mouth on the hole, suck once you light the lighter. The coffee rates off.
Worth something. And that's the part you can copyright, not the idea. 8. Structure is the hardest thing to nail. Out of those 51 books, a lot of them had wonderful line-by-line writing. My jaw was dropping. I was so impressed, sentence to sentence to sentence, with how the writing was progressing. But for every single novel that I edited, there's always some large-scale structural thing that needed to be tweaked or changed in some way. A chapter that needed to be shifted to a different place in the novel, or a chapter that needed to be deleted entirely, or a chapter that needed to be written. Sometimes their ending needed to be expanded or needed to be condensed. Sometimes it floundered in the middle and I had to say, I think you should do this instead of that. That's because for writers, structure is the most difficult thing to see neutrally. You've built this lovely, beautiful thing and it's so hard for you to get enough distance that you can see it through disinterested eyes. And really, that's the place where you have to trust an outside reader like a developmental editor to give you feedback on it. What that means is writers are often very good judges when it comes to the micro, whether a paragraph is working, or whether a sentence is working, or whether a couple lines of dialogue are working. They just struggle to have an eagle-eye view of how everything's fitting together and what should be added and taken away. Number 9. There are so many talented writers out there. I am constantly amazed at just how talented and how smart and how wonderful writers are. I have laughed at books, I have cried at books, I have been floored by the sheer imagination of authors. And if you're a writer, don't be intimidated by the number of other writers out there. Yes, you're competing with thousands of other people who are writing in the same genre as you, but you have a unique story. You have a story that only you can tell. I'm incredibly grateful to work with so many talented authors, and I can't wait for their stories to find audiences and readers in the world.